So my objective today is to throw some mind grenades at you, get your brain juices fired up. And we're going to do this by taking a look at the impact the digital customer is having on our enterprise. There's been a fundamental shift occurring in how we as customers and employees are engaging brands. So again, we're going to explore that impact in more depth. If I'm successful, now I'm presenting a point of view here. Yeah? It's one that's, like I said, based on a lot of personal experiences. So I don't profess to have all the answers. But for me, success would represent you guys walking away with 1 or 2 ideas from this session that you can take back into your own businesses and can start considering. Who here has a smartphone? iPhone, any type of smartphone? I think pretty much everyone, yeah? What about Facebook accounts? Everyone got a Facebook or LinkedIn account? Yeah? Who's got a Facebook on their smartphone now? Who wants to take part in an experiment? No one? Have I got a shy audience? You don't have, it's not difficult. You just have to go to a Facebook page and post that you would hopefully like my presentation after. The reason I want to show you that is I want to show something later in the place. But if you're shy, don't worry, I've already prepped just in case I had a shy audience. So I'm going to show you a little later on how digital technologies are now really transforming the way we engage with customers. I did this yesterday at the Future Tech conference, and again, had maybe a little less shy audience, and they dived in. But I'll show you a bit later on what we're going to do. This formula is a really great formula. One I've held close to my heart working across a number of companies. I didn't come up with it, but at the end I'll reveal it. So again, OP plus NT equals EOP. So let's see if you can figure that out by end of the presentation. Again, there's no secret that there's been a fundamental revolution as those questions I asked about who's got a smartphone, Facebook account, most of us will be buying online. Technology is really transforming the way we engage. The old paradigm of how marketers and businesses sold to us and engaged us it's gone forever. Yeah, we no longer are passively sitting there waiting for messages to be pushed through a TV box. The fact is, technology is fundamentally changing our lives, the way we listen to music, the way we engage at a concert, a rock concert, the way we buy our products and services are fundamentally changing. I book most of my travel now through Booking.com's mobile app on my phone. So if I get asked to come to Manila, that's where I go. I book on there. The way we use technology is fundamentally changing. Just look at the telephone and how it's transformed. How many of us are now using our mobile devices and Skype to communicate with family and friends or in a business context? And this has happened in a very short space of time. I would argue that Steve Jobs actually was a tipping point when he brought the iPhone out. I think that was an accelerator that ultimately saw not just his technology, but a number of technologies converge. Wi-Fi, 3G, smartphone, all these came together at the right time and it really played a massive role in changing our lives fundamentally. And it's really disrupting business models. So again, we've seen traditional bricks and mortar businesses fall away. Think Blockbuster. Think of the bookstores that have closed down as a result of Amazon. But even these new businesses are under threat. The bricks and mortar companies are fighting back. Again, looking at how they can bring digital into their businesses and bring the two worlds together. I'm seeing great examples of this where traditional businesses are leveraging their bricks and mortar properties as a competitive advantage, but also using digital to combat all the experiences that customers want from the likes of Amazon. And the fact is, it's changing how we want to interact as individuals, as business, as employees, and as consumers. How we rewire our houses, how we engage with our enterprises systems. Again, much more demanding in what we expect from those companies that we work for. And the fact is, we just no longer passive. I'll show you a great example of an individual that's really transforming my life and my wife's life in respect to one of the tastemakers that we've come across through our boys. I'll come on to that in a minute. We now live in an age of digital immersion. We're socially connected. Rich content is absolutely critical. As a marketer now, my role is extending further down the buying cycle in terms of how people consume and find out information about SAP, its products and services. How you find out information on me, you could be checking now on LinkedIn, who's this guy standing up in front of me? Why should I listen to him? Why should I care what he has to say? Why is his point of view maybe one I want to consider? All this information is readily available to us now. And we can get that on our mobile device and it's always on. No matter where I land in the world, I'm pretty much guaranteed a connection to work. I often joke, but Starbucks is my third office. I generally work at a Starbucks about 2 or 3 times a week where I conduct business meetings, etc. So I no longer have to be in a physical office. So I was talking about someone who's transformed our lives in our family, our family's life. A guy called Evan, a little boy called Evan, 7-year-old. My son, Ilan, came to me about a year ago and said, I met this boy Evan. I was like, who's this Evan kid? I've never heard of Evan. My wife, do you know who he is? No, don't know him. So we found out who Evan is. Evan's is a tastemaker on YouTube.
Hey, this is Evan from EvanTube HD and welcome to my channel. Take a look around and you'll find a bunch of fun, family-friendly videos for kids of all ages. I do toy reviews with cool special effects. Time-lapse Lego builds. Animal videos. Science experiments. And I even ate some pretty crazy stuff. See a lot of Angry Birds, Lego, Minecraft, Skylanders, and other cool things that our viewers have requested. My sister makes videos too. Wow! 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 And occasionally my parents will make an appearance. If you're looking for more, be sure to check out my other two channels, EvanTube Raw and EvanTube Gaming. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. It's free.
Evan represents a tastemaker that's focused on a particular market segment. You know, kids aged between 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. My boys every day watch his videos, and when I go away, guess what happens? They ask me to buy one of the toys he's been showcasing. Yeah, but you can find tastemakers in every industry, whether they're talking about, you know, windmills to automotive to CRM, you name it. These individuals exist out there. They're talking about our brands. They're talking about the experiences they're having. So it's really important to understand who these tastemakers are, what influence they're having on our businesses. I'm a big fan of the work of Brian Solis. I don't know if you've heard of him before, but he's a great author, someone I really recommend following. He's a digital analyst, but he really understands both the technology world and the business world and brings those together, those two worlds together really well. And he had a quote here which I thought was really important, because we talk a lot about millennials, yeah? A lot of focus on that, and they're an important demographic, but he argues here that we're now in a generation C, where we now face operating in a world where this is the dawn of the generation C, where C represents a connected society based on interests and behavior. Gen Z is not an age group, it's a way of life. Think about it, all of our friends and family are now pretty much connected. My mother, 70 years old, is on Facebook, posting on my Facebook page, often not what I wanted to do, but she does. I mean, she's connected, she's buying online, she does her banking. So again, it's not just the millennials, it's actually having a broad impact across all demographics in terms of how technologies are being influenced. Again, if you look at Asia, and I apologize, the contrast is not so great on here, but the data points we're seeing now coming out of Asia, again, show that, you know, the embracing of social is happening at a massive scale. Internet use, 62 million users are online in Southeast Asia. Represents 40% of all APAC users. 6 out of 10 social media users in Asia are connected to brands via social media. Here in the Philippines, over 101% penetration in terms of mobile devices. So again, we can see this at a global level, regional level, and a country level, that it's really fundamentally changing the way we engage. Again, a lot of data, and this is coming from multiple sources. You know, the way social is now becoming a core part of the fabric of how we talk about brands. 59% of consumers are talking about our brands online. And this is really, again, this is where customer experience is becoming such a hot topic and our key focus for senior executives globally. 59% of customers are willing to try a new brand to get a better customer experience. So American Express did some really great research on this last year, showing that this has become a real key issue or topic. Also, IBM's produced some really great studies around this, and also Forrester I'll touch on later. But it's having a massive impact on selling. So again, as someone who's sold for a long time, the whole paradigm that used to exist between seller and buyer is fundamentally changed. And this is whether it's B2C or B2B context. Normally, as a sales guy, customers came to me because I was the source of all knowledge initially. When I first started out, I was the main gatekeeper between my company and them. But that's changed. 57% of the buying process is now completed before the first interaction with sales. I mean, you don't need to call Nicholas to find out about SAP CRM. You can Google it. When you're looking at a new banking product or life product, you can go online and find out you go to a competitive comparison site, you can find all this information long before you actually pick up the phone and speak to someone. And that's fundamentally changing, actually, again, looking at the dynamic internally within SAP, how sales and marketing works. Again, the roles are fundamentally changing. Marketing's role is extending down, like I said earlier, down the buying cycle, where sales roles is again changing. So again, this is changing the DNA of organizations and how they orientate themselves. 71% of customers don't think companies are doing what they need to do to keep their business. And again, I'm seeing this across all markets and all the research we commission or other vendors that, like IBM are commissioning. So we are seeing a real consistency in this across all markets in terms of there's a real growing frustration with customers when it comes to businesses not really adapting to their needs. And I think this, again, I'm going to go to Brian Solis. I think the key reason we're seeing this trend is because we've entered an age of digital Darwinism, where technology and society are evolving faster than the ability for companies to adapt. I think that's spot on. I think most organizations are just fundamentally not geared up to operate in the 21st century environment they're in now. And again, I'll expand on why I think that's the case in a minute. The reality is businesses are struggling to engage their customers now. And again, so this is where a lot of companies now are looking for help. And when we talk to customers, when I'm talking to customers, I'm saying we have to go to plan B. Plan A no longer works. You have to come up with a new plan, a new way of thinking in terms of how we engage our customers. Now at this point you might say, oh, Nick's going to sell me a bit of software or start talking about software. No, because it's not all about technology. Again, I'm going to share personal experiences here. I'm going to talk to you about what I've learned over my career and what I've seen work and not work for companies, both on the client side and on the vendor side. Yeah? And it's not all about the technology. I will not understate the importance of technology, but it's not the starting point. Sadly, I'm not also going to present you a silver bullet today. Anyone who does is lying. There isn't a single bullet out there that you can buy off the shelf, and whether it's from an advisory piece or a technology piece. Each of your companies is different, fundamentally different. The organizational DNA of your companies are different. You have to look for paths that are unique to yourself. Obviously, there's best practices and learnings you can take, and again, I'm going to share some of those with you later on from some brands I think are doing some amazing things in this space. The fact is we now are working or dealing with, as I've sort of laid out in my presentation so far, dealing with 21st century customers, and that requires a 21st century management response. I'm a massive fan of the work of Gary Hamel, again another really great thinker in the management space in this case, and he wrote a video essay, and again I'm going to share this deck with you guys later. But again, I highly encourage you to read on his work, but this video essay I'm going to draw down from, he talks about, in the video essay, the history of management. And by 1890, 90% of the then developed world worked in agriculture, and only 4 people, on average, were working for manufacturing companies. By 1915, Ford made 500,000 cars, and US Steel was the first company to punch through $1 billion in turnover. By 1920, most of the tools for modern day management have been created, okay? So pay for performance, capital budgeting, brand management, task design, all of these fundamental pillars that underpin all of our businesses were created by 1920. Let's take a look at the sales funnel. I think most of us will be familiar now. So again, the problem is you and I as consumers, whether it's B2B or B2C, irrespective, work in a very dynamic way now. We don't work in this linear process. We don't think like that. We won't, and we don't want to be forced through some funnel. Yeah? We want to engage on our terms when we're ready. Yeah? So this is, again, what's fundamentally changed in the terms of the business world. And again, this is where businesses are struggling because organizationally they're not constructed to adapt that way. If you keep on doing what you've always done, you'll keep on getting what you always got. W. Bateman. Again, I think this is where businesses need to really rethink how they approach business. We need to move away, even look at the language we're using. I hate the term go-to-market. We need to rethink our marketing and sales strategies. Let's begin with binning the concept of go-to-market and replace it with go-to-customer strategy. Let's think about our customers as people, not as a market segment. Yeah? But what about customer experience management? So there's a lot of talk, a lot of work. I first got exposed to this in working at Capita Group in the UK. They were one of the first BPO providers to really start looking at how they could transform their customer experience on behalf of their clients they're working with. Interestingly, when I was working with clients, they liked the idea, and this is pre-2008, But when they realized there was going to be a cost involved in doing it, they weren't interested. Yeah, back then, pre-2008, it was all about taking the cost out. That's all BPO was about. CFO just wanted to offload as much cost as he could, and he wanted to offload all the problem to someone else. Yeah? And again, that was a real eye-opener for me back then. But 2008, something happened. The world went sideways in terms of the financial meltdown. Businesses were starting to be exposed by this changing behavior that was occurring in terms of customers who were becoming more demanding. You must have heard the statistic that over 40 to 50% of the Fortune 500 companies that were in business in 2000 are no longer in business. So I argue a lot of those companies fell to the wayside because they lost focus. They lost what their business was all about, that it was about people and employees. But before we go into customer experience management, what is customer experience? I'm going to define it first of all using Gartner. I'm going to go to them. They define it as the customer's perceptions and related feelings caused by one-off and cumulative effect of interactions with suppliers, employees, systems, channels, or products. My definition is, it's the aggregated memories of every touch we have with a brand. I'm going to use a banking analogy, yeah? So every time I touch a bank, okay, an experience is created. Either positive, negative, or neutral, yeah? So every positive one's a deposit, every negative one's a withdrawal. At the time when I decide I need to take out a home loan or a car loan, that's when the positives will come into play. You know, has the overall experience been good? Yes, okay, there's a higher propensity for me, therefore, to engage with that bank and actually transact the business with them, yeah? Customer experience management, again, Gartner defined it as the practice of designing and reacting to customer interactions to meet or exceed customer expectations to increase customer satisfaction, loyalty, and advocacy. Again, very wordy. So I simply put it, it's about delivering a consistent customer experience across the entire enterprise. This is sales, marketing, service, HR, finance, logistics, supply chain. It's your ecosystem. It's not one department. Actually, I would argue customer experience is ultimately owned by the CEO and the employees. Marketing, in my view, also is should be taking a more leadership position around helping orchestrate that inside of enterprises. But no one owns it other than the CEO and the employees. Yeah? PM plus PK equals T. There's one thing that unites all of us, irrespective of if we're private or public sector. It's the promises we make. The promises we make to our employees, to our customers, to our suppliers. And the more promises we make and the more promises we keep, the trust is built. Yeah? And again, it's as simple as that. If we're making promises to our customers and we're delivering on those promises, we're building trust, we're building credibility. Zig Ziglar, a famous US sales thought leader, has a great quote here. Every sale has 5 basic obstacles: no need, no money, no hurry, no desire, no trust. For me, the last one's absolutely critical because that's where you move from a transactional relationship. Yeah, if you have no trust, it's all about the dollars. Yeah, how much is the unit price? If you have trust, then you can charge a 40% premium. Think Apple. Yeah, Apple makes huge margins, and did so all the way through the last 5-6 years when the rest of the world was suffering. Why? Because it built trust with its customer base. A question I often get asked is, what about CRM? So how does CRM and customer experience management fit? Yeah, so let's tackle the challenge CRM. If I talk about CRM to a lot of executives, and personally, what I remember is I had IT people and vendors come to me promising to deliver me a world-class platform. No problem. We'll deliver you a CRM system, and all the arrows are going to go up in terms of revenue, and costs are going to go down. Reality is what I got delivered was complexity. I got systems that were really difficult for me to work with. Yeah, as a sales guy, a humble sales guy on the road, all I wanted to do, I wanted to use the technology. I've always used CRM, but I often had to work hard for it to actually give me something back. As a result, we got a lot of frustrations. And more importantly, there's a lot of legacy issues out there. So if you talk to a lot of CFOs that wrote $2, $3, $4, $5, $10 million checks 10 years ago, they're a bit hesitant to write the same check again, yeah? Because of the complexity they've had. For me, and again, this is part of my learning, since 1990 when I first started getting exposed to this topic, CRM is more than a technology, it's an ideology. It's really about connecting people. It's about bringing customers, employees together. Vinay Nair, the former CEO of HCL, an amazing thinker, wrote a book called Employees First, which I highly recommend. He talks about management's job being requiring them to drive innovation at the coalface between customers and employees. That's what management's job is, to help employees deliver on those promises that we're making. It's about delighting our customers. Again, a really great brand in the region that's doing this is Asian Paints. Again, they have it as part of their core mantra, a great SAP customer. And if you talk to anyone, they always talk about, whether it's the CFO, to the CMO, to the guys in the shops, they talk about delighting their customers. It's a core part of their DNA. They see their customers more than a number. They see customers and ultimately the employees that serve them as their most valuable assets. Yeah? I often had fun talking to CEOs or senior executives and saying, oh, what's your most important assets, valuable assets? I'll talk about their intellectual property, their manufacturing, their supply chain. But the reality is it's actually their employees and customers. That's what differentiates the great brands from the not so great brands. Brian Solis, again, he argues here it's our obligation to study and how, where, and why customers are connecting and how they're making and influencing decisions. Great research out of Leeds, I found quite amazing, Leeds University. It takes a mere 5% of informed individuals to influence the direction of a crowd of up to 200 people. Yeah? 5%. So think Evan. Yeah? Evan's influencing on a larger scale. He's influencing my kids in terms of what they want to buy. What's interesting, though, is the respondents, time after time, ended up concluding that they led the group, even though they were the ones being led. So we like to think we're making the decisions because we're smart, we've got MBAs, etc. But more often than not, we are still heavily influenced by our peers, by tastemakers or influencers out there. So people make decisions based on shared experiences of others. I mean, think about it. Before you buy a CRM system, you'll talk to other people that have had similar experiences. Before you buy the next smartphone, or should I get the Samsung S5 or wait for the iPhone 6? I'm waiting for the latter. I'm a bit of an Apple fanboy. But again, I'll talk to friends and peers to get a sense of what they're thinking and what before I make my decision. So where do we start on the journey of customer experience management? A great article, well actually before I get the article, I think you need a strategy. I had a back operation a couple of years back, and before I sat down with the surgeon, I was hoping that, and I wanted to hear his plan. What was his strategy? How was he going to tackle this problem I had? But I also wanted him to be able to adapt, because obviously when he gets in there, maybe things aren't what he thought. He needs to have that agility and flexibility to be able to quickly make decisions, and that's not too different to our businesses. We need to build that into our organizations. A very good German friend of mine, SAP is a German company, and to hear this from a German I thought was quite neat. He said we're now in the age of structured flexibility. So Germans like structure, they like process, but he coined this term of the need also having that flexibility to adapt, and I think that's really key moving forward. 7 key steps to getting started with customer experience management for me. It has to be cross-functional. You can't do this in isolation. You can start a project, CM, and I've done that, in a business unit, but ideally you want to quickly find other people in the organization that share a similar passion and belief that change is needed in the organization. Seth Godin wrote a great book on tribes. And that's, I think, at the heart of his book is finding people that share a similar passion that can become part of a tribe that can drive the transformational change that's needed. You need to define the key elements of the strategy. Again, finding an executive stakeholder that shares that passion is again, massively beneficial, especially if you want to scale this, and having a clear vision of where you want to go. Who do you want to be? We're an autocratic company, but we want to become entrepreneurial. Okay, what are the fundamental changes we need to go through in order to get there? We need to map the customer journey. I guarantee if I ask the question, I won't, who has a blueprint of all of the touch points that their enterprise has with their customers. Maybe one, if lucky, will put their hand up. Globally, maybe 1% to 2% of brands have done this that I've come across. Gartner estimates on average we have 800 touch points for a medium to large enterprise company. Aviva Life Insurance in Shanghai, in China, I met with one of the ladies there recently. They ran a customer journey mapping exercise for life insurance. They came up with 1,200 touch points. And they sell life insurance. So the reality is there's a lot of touches we're having, and we need to understand what are the critical ones, what are those moments in truth for those touches, which are the ones that are the key ones that we need to be aware of. Consolidating data. Again, data is becoming ever increasingly important. Messes with the technology layer obviously plays a key component. Understanding VOC, voice of customer. So being able to bring external and internal data together and shape it in a way that provides you insights, that ultimately lead to knowledge and enable you to respond to customer needs. Creating a governance mechanism, again, that's a given. Mapping the customer experience ecosystem. So it's not just about your 4 walls of your enterprise, but what about the other vendors that are delivering on that brand promise that work as part of your ecosystem? So think insurance, car insurance. I have a car crash, A local Manila insurance company sends me to the local repairer. He does a terrible job. Do you think I'm going to remember the repairer's name or the insurance company's name? I'm going to remember the insurance company's name. So it's important that the insurance company knows who they're sending me to. Are they going to deliver on that promise that they're making to me? So again, understanding that is absolutely critical. And select projects that can build momentum. So I'm talking about a big transformational topic here. You can't do this in 1 year. It's a long-term commitment, but you can do it in incremental steps. Look for those projects that can actually deliver a bottom line and top line impact that the CFO will like and get excited about, but also move the needle for your customers. I'm a big fan of the work out of Forrester and customer experience management. So again, they're a really good thought leader in this space. And they have this model which totally aligned with my point of view when I came across it, so I'm sharing it with you. Again, having a very clear strategy and business goals absolutely is the first step. Understanding the processes that need to be rethought. You know, what are the redundant ones? Where can we collapse teams? I'm seeing operations now merging marketing and service operations together. Yeah, so they're no longer having a separate marketing and services operation, and I'll show why later in terms of a short little a case study. People, absolutely fundamental. Organizational behavior, understanding what fundamentally needs to change in terms of the behavior of the organization. And then finally, technology. So I do not want to downplay technology. Absolutely critical. Absolutely critical. It'll be the difference between you winning or losing. But if you start there, you'll fail. Simple. Yeah? And this is why. Avoid becoming one of these statistics by rethinking your CRM strategies. This is a maybe 2-year-old, but I'm shocked when I read these statistics because CRM's been around for 20 years. It's not something new, technology, yeah? But businesses are still making these mistakes. 25% of firms reported that poorly defined business requirements had a negative impact on projects. 31% of firms reported that poor business process design accounted for project failures. 48% surveyed admitted they suffered technical integration difficulties. 21% of businesses stated the need to customize CRM. Because often what happens is we buy technology as a business unit and we don't think about how the bigger picture of how that fits into the overall landscape. The last 5 years we've seen, or 6 years, we've seen a growing move for line of business people not even to work with IT, buying their own solutions. And that's great in the short term. You get some efficiency improvements, but the reality is if you want to deliver on these types of capabilities I'm talking about, you need to integrate. You need to be looking at how you bring your technology stack together with the rest of the technology stack and how that can actually work in a harmonious way to deliver on the experiences that you're trying to deliver, both to your employees and customers. I mean, for me, CRM, when I first started out in 1990 being exposed to it, was all about efficiency. Businesses didn't really care about me as a sales guy or the customer. They just wanted to squeeze out the cost, yeah? So that's why they like the idea of CRM. Let's roll it out. For the last 5 years, there was definitely a fundamental realization that doesn't work. They moved to effectiveness. So how can I make my salespeople more effective, my service agents more effective, pushing the right information at the right time to them? But what we're fundamentally seeing now is a shift away from, and again, this has often happened still in a departmental sense, yeah? So it's still inside out. What we're now seeing is a shift to customer engagement, a real understanding of how you can change the game by looking at an enterprise-wide engagement. What is that journey of my customers going through, and what are the technology stacks that play a role in that? For me, CRM is more than sales, service, and marketing. It's logistics, it's supply chain, it's billing, it's understanding all of those key components that play a key role in delivering the product as you promised, or the service you promised, or on the time at the price you promised. CFOs often want to know, well, yeah, this all sounds great, but show me the money. Is this just marketing fluff? Well, again, Forrester have a great customer experience management index. They track top brands across the globe. And they did a benchmark, I think this was last year, where they looked at the S&P 500 over a 5-year period. And what they saw is the top performing customer experience customers on their index outperformed the market by 22% in terms of share value. Yeah? The laggards, minus 46%. But this is not just a global thing, it's also regional. Here in Asia, we conducted a survey last year targeting with the CMO Council. 23% of marketers surveyed in APJ calculated the impact of customer experience had on the impact. So they were tracking the impact customer experience had on their business. 42% said they saw revenue increase. 16% went as far as saying it increased their revenue over 5 to 10%. So again, there's real money here to be made in getting this right. Yeah? So where do we start? Again, I often get asked the question, where's a good place to start? So if I'm talking to a marketing audience, sales service audience, I say listening, just listening to our customers. Social provides us a great opportunity to listen to what our customers are saying. If you look at social for the last 5 years, it's all been about cracking jokes, pinning up puppy pictures, people get a chuckle out there, might like it. But the question is, do they really like you? Do they really like your brand? Do they really care about your brand? There's a fundamental difference between those. And I think if we look at how social's been used for the last 5 years, it's been more of a digital broadcasting mechanism, versus actually an opportunity to really listen to customers. For me, social presents an excellent opportunity as a marketer, B2B marketer. I use social now to really understand what people are talking about in terms of marketer, sales, service. What are the conversations they're having? And I do this by really looking at the 5 W's, that we work towards in our org. What are people talking about? So what's hot? Is it brand advocacy, brand utility, social media? It could be customer experience. Whatever the topic is, what are they talking about? When are they talking about it? Where are they talking about these conversations? Who is talking about it? So think about the Evans. Who are the Evans in my industry? Who are these individuals that are influencing these conversations? And why are they talking about it? That's, again, really important. So the context is really important in terms of when you use social, and again, the fact is we're all talking about these things, whether it's via social channels or face-to-face. We want to know, who's making one of these, cool commercial, how to buy it, I need something new. All these conversations are going on at the moment, at this very minute, this very second, on social channels. And what's really important and what's really cool now in terms of social listening is the tools, again, SAP's delivering. We can really start getting a sense of, what is the net sentiment? How passionate are people? So do they like my product, they hate my product, but how passionate are they liking or hating it? Again, really important insights. What is our share of buzz compared to our competitors? So really the importance of creating a digital hub, listening hub, is actually becoming really important now, and how I can aggregate these using it as a signal opportunity to use digital technology to get, focusing on the signals, the real signals that matter to my business through all that noise. Some great case studies I'm going to touch on. STM. STM is a 6th largest transport authority in North America. So Montreal, they do all the buses and trains. They move about 2 million people a day across Montreal. And they had an ambitious goal. They wanted to increase the ridership on their buses and trains by 40% by 2020. So the new inbound CMO came in, and basically Pierre wanted to look at how they could engage their customers. And they had loyalty programs. They had a transit authority card, so they got a card that most 3 million people walk around with, that they can jump on and off buses. About 1 million use that every day. And they wanted to look at how they could transform that card into something that was more engaging, something that was more useful, actually delivered value to the end user. So they looked at mobile technology. But everyone's got an app, everyone's got an app now. If you're going to create an app, the fact is, I think, within 48 hours, people will make a decision whether they want to keep it or delete it or shove it off to one of the pages inside your phone, If you want it up front and center, that has to deliver me value straight away. So they looked at that. They said, okay, how can we take big data, mobility, social, all this, and bring this together in a way that creates value? I was going to show a video, but I think we're going to be pressed for time. But I'll talk about what they've done. Okay, so what they've done is delivered a mobile app that really is designed to enhance the rider's experience. So it's about delivering information that's important to me. So I'm standing at a bus stop. It's cold, it's raining. I get an alert telling me, actually, sorry, the bus is going to be 15 minutes late because of a burst water main or something like that. But what else it does for me is it integrates loyalty. And it then sends me personalized offers based on the information I shared with it. So it knows I like coffee, It knows that Starbucks is nearby, and actually what STM has done is integrated 400 retailers across the city into this program. So each of these retailers can now push me a personalized offer based on what information I've shared with them and the context of where I am. So again, I then can redeem that offer via my mobile phone, and I can get also transit information. So again, this is a great example for me of what I call brand utility. Where I'm able to increase my brand value to the customer by delivering them a service that actually is meaningful for them. So again, a great example of a transport authority that's actually innovating, really streets ahead in lots of respects. Banks have a lot to learn from this in terms of what they're doing. I can see no reason why banks cannot do this in their own organizations and offer this, Coca-Cola, another fabulous SAP customer, they took our social listening tool and started listening to customers. And what they found was an interesting insight. They found a market segment of bodybuilders that were talking about how they use Coca-Cola as part of their weightlifting routine. Apparently they use Coke as a way of replenishing their body after a workout. They shake the can of Coke up and then pop it down and scull it in 3 seconds. Coke never knew about this, yeah? They didn't know. The first insight is they didn't know that this market segment was using their product that way. What they found out then was that where these conversations were happening, where these guys were hanging out, and that then enabled them to target specifically marketing messages to that audience. So from a ROI perspective, it was fabulous. They knew where the conversations were happening, who was having them, when it was happening, and they were able to use that insight to engage their customers more effectively. A great example of a brand that's at the forefront of social engagement is T-Mobile in the US. I love this story, yeah? T-Mobile are a tier 3 player in the telco space in the US, I think, tier 3, tier 2. So up against big boys like AT&T. I picked, and this story I'm about to tell you was nothing to do with SAP. Fast Company picked this up, magazine, great magazine, picked up a story and ran with this nationally and actually got ultimately global coverage of an example of how T-Mobile's use of social is really transforming their business. Jay, and I'll read this out because you might find it hard at the back there, Jay Rooney's a potential customer for T-Mobile. He posted on Twitter, just found out that T-Mobile doesn't charge for extra overseas data. What the hell am I doing at AT&T? He just posted it to his friends, sharing that, yeah? T-Mobile, listening to what people are saying, engages him. There is an alternative to old school wireless carriers, right? It's called T-Mobile, the Un-carrier, Lisa. Personal, Lisa. Lisa's reached out to me in a chatty way, very social way, because again, people that use social, that's how they want to be engaged. AT&T, not to be done by, they actually engaged, resist the urge, Jay. We heard it's dark and scary and no one can ever hear you. No one, okay? Okay, T-Mobile go back. AT&T, did your kindergarten panel write that for you? Rambling Rooney, global data at no extra charge versus lots of dollars. It's not complicated. AT&T, no gloves off over here, Jay. It's too close to the holidays to be disgruntled. So this is just before Christmas last year. This is where it gets amazing. T-Mobile, AT&T, Rambling Rooney, bet AT&T CEO isn't going to join the convo. Come over to the wireless revolution. John Legard, he's the CEO of T-Mobile, is now engaging Jay. You've definitely caught my attention, good sir. Going to T-Mobile store to inquire tomorrow. Wow, that's amazing. And these guys are really rocking the boat in their market over there. Their service resolution rate is increased by 90%, yeah, by using social channels. And again, I was going to show you an example of that. That's why I was asking the question earlier about whether you wanted to go on Facebook. And what we've seen here, and again, if I think about customer experience management and how it's being used in those examples from a social perspective, is they're listening to their customers. So using social listening tools to understand what people are saying, understanding the context of those conversations, and then engaging at the right time with the right information, yeah, through the right channel. Again, for me, that simple process is, again, really what I'm seeing great brands like T-Mobile, Coca-Cola, Lego, who we work with, are using this type of approach, really reimagining the contact center. So they're not seeing a contact center as one channel. They're bringing email, all the channels together in what they call an omni-channel strategy now. So a lot of the typical channels we engage with customers has typically been run by different departments. The real smart companies like Lego has collapsed that all into one single unit now. Yeah, so whether you're in touch with them on Facebook, in-store, or via email or over a phone call, they have a single view of who I am as a customer with them. Because the reality is we just don't clock off. It's at 5 o'clock. You and I, we start. That's when we start looking for Christmas presents. We're buying our insurance policies after we get home from work. And we want it now. Jay posted an inquiry. T-Mobile has now set the benchmark for the rest of the carriers because they engaged him straight away. Yeah? So what happens next time he tweets to a brand? He's going to expect the same. Yeah? So it's getting tough for brands. We need to build a connected platform, engagement platform. We need to think more holistically in how we're engaging our customers. Like I said, don't think of it just in terms of sales, service, and marketing. Think about logistics, billing, supply chain, how all these come into play. But also, don't forget about word of mouth in the sense of face-to-face or telephone-based word of mouth. It still accounts for 90% of how people talk about brands. Yeah, that's going to drop as we see over the years. Social will start kicking off. So again, social is a fledgling area still. T-Mobile are at the forefront. You need to be investing now and understanding how you bring that in the organization. But it's not going to necessarily be, you don't just focus everything on social. Yeah, you need to look at all the other channels and bring it all together. Yeah, is what I'm saying now. Charles Darwin, famous quote, you've all heard this, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the most responsive to change. Again, change is our biggest obstacle, but change has changed in itself. It's ever surprising, it's unrelenting, it's unforgiving, and it's only going to get faster and faster. That's the reality. I mean, doing 5-year plans and trying to anticipate what's going to happen, who knows? You know, this is the real challenge facing each and every one of us in this business. The fact, though, is we have to adapt, or we'll die. We'll become one of those 40 or 50% of those businesses in the Fortune 500 that disappeared in the last 10 years. Avoid diet pill approaches. I'm a son of a chef. I love food. I love food. I'm always battling with weight, up and down, like a yo-yo. And diet pills are really attractive for me. I want to take them. Yeah, and I do. Sometimes I lose a few kilos. Yeah. But what happens? It comes back. It normally comes on back tenfold, yeah? And this is sadly, as business people, we often want diet pill approaches. And that's where I look at technology and how technology is typically being purchased. Is a diet pill. I need a CRM system. I need a loyalty management tool. I need a social listening tool, yeah? But beware of island solutions. Think about more holistically. Okay, great, I buy this tool, but how's it going to work across the enterprise? How am I going to take the social listening insights and share that across the enterprise? How do I get it to R&D, logistics, supply chain, to my colleagues in Vietnam in terms of there's a stock out issue there? How do I bring these tools together so I can do that? The fact is we need to build an organization around people, process, and technology. Yeah? That ultimately bring those four together, and again, everyone in the BPO space understands this. Again, I'm teaching you to suck eggs here, but again, for me, that is really what drives transformation, yeah, for me. But again, a lot of companies just don't get this, yeah. They just don't get it, yeah. Competitive advantage ultimately requires hard work, yeah. It needs people that are passionate, that want to drive the change that's needed. Key takeaways. We're in the back stretch now. The buying journey, which is what's represented at the top here. So again, sorry about the contrasts here. This is fundamentally changed, yeah. As a sales guy, I don't drive this anymore. Yeah, I don't drive it. I influence it. Yeah, I'm adapting to it. Yeah, I'm moving with the customer, and that's where the agility needs to be in the organization. Yeah, whether it's sales, marketing, or service, we need to be working with our customers, guiding them. The reality is, and this is why customer experience is so, and there's loads of research on this. I'm becoming fascinated with the whole area of neuromarketing, how we make decisions. Yeah. 90% of our purchasing decisions are made subconsciously. Again, think back to that 5% of people that are moving the needle, the Evans of the world. A lot of that is being influenced by our subconscious, yeah? We're basically making a lot of our decisions emotionally, yeah? It's time to engage our customers like never before. So I think, hopefully, what I'm going to leave you with is the need to think more holistically about customer experience being more than just something for sales, service, or marketing. It's HR, it's finance. I mean, HR is a massive important part of the process. We need to look at things at a different perspective. Look outside your own industries. Apple went into retail 6 years ago, roughly. It's now the most profitable retailer on the planet per square foot. Louis Vuitton, Burberry, makes more money than those guys per square foot. How? It was a technology, hardware, software manufacturer. But it looked outside its industry and looked at what other people were doing, studied, understood where there was an opportunity to take its own point of view and its own DNA and inject it and transform. Tesco's financial services in grocery department store in the UK went into financial services when I was in the UK back in the 90s or early 2000s. All the insurance companies and banks laughed at them. They bought Royal Bank of Scotland out of their share after 2008 and made, I think, 20% of their profits comes from financial services. So there's a lot to be learned from other industries. Engage at the point of awareness. Stop telling, start listening. Predict and influence behavior. Guide our customers through their journey. Understand their needs and desires. Yeah? Empower our customers and our employees to deliver on their promises that we make to them. If we do this, and again, proud to say we've got some of the best brands on the planet at SAP. Apple, Harley Davidson, Lego. If I go, the list goes on. If I look at these brands and I look at what they're doing, they're really ultimately doing all of what I'm talking about today. And they're driving and creating loyal brands, making every conversation count, creating amazing experiences, delivering relevant and timely offers. I'm going to finish with a video.
It's the most powerful force in the universe. Yet, as simple as a smile. It's making a new friend on the first day of school and being there on the first day of her new life. It's hearing Daddy for the first time. Or I love you for the 100th. It's a great conversation. An instant shared in the company of strangers. A smile that makes us feel we're not alone. Moments that pass in seconds, but stay with us forever. The most powerful connections are personal connections. At SAP, we connect people to rewards that enrich, to experiences that matter, to each other, and to companies like yours. Isn't it time you connected with us? Engage customers like never before.